BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy, welcome. Episode 478 of BRB UK is the name of this show. It certainly is, because it's episode 478 of BRB UK. I'm Dan, one of your hosts. Hello! How are you? Really? That's nice. Brilliant. I like our little chats. Coleman, you're a man I also like to have a chat with. Say hello.
Hi.
And there's also Tim, who, well, I would call it a conversation, but he more talks at me than anything else, to be fair. Hello.
Aww. Hello.
Tim, can I just congratulate you, first of all, for your audio existing in the same time zone as me and Coleman for the first time in 100 episodes. So basically, Coleman being the star that he is, has managed to hide this using the smoke and mirrors of editing. But Tim has a very special set of skills. A very special set of skills that only come to the fore when using a computer. Which,
I will find
in this line of work, you hard...
And I will stop all your technology working properly.
So, basically, Tim has been on like a 4-second delay for us hearing his audio for the past, 50 episodes, Coleman, would you say?
Which makes an audio podcast difficult.
Exactly. So, Tim has borrowed his missus's laptop, and we've just put up with 5 minutes of, oh, Windows is crap. Oh, is it all right? Share your screen. Oh, can't open Audacity. All right, okay. Share your screen. Yeah. I'm clicking on the start button. Yeah. Try using the left mouse button, Tim. That's the left mouse button. What do you mean there's more than one mouse button? It's
that was a joke.
There's a little button for the scrolling.
That was a joke.
Oh God. Oh God. Why?
But it's one of those trackpads that's ranged left. But yeah.
For as much as you moaned about using a PC, that's probably the quickest tech support we've ever had with you. So,
well, that's because there was something bleeding
also,
obvious to someone that uses PCs, but yeah.
After a couple of months of this whole lag business, if anyone ever says that I should be using a Mac at work over a PC again, then that's a good argument for me.
Yeah, well, I use nothing.
I can think of a lot of processing problems. Yeah.
Yes.
The problem wasn't the fact I was on a Mac. The problem was the fact I was on a Mac with 4 gigs of RAM that was like nearly 10 years old. That was the problem.
Might as well be on a VTech Leap pad.
We looked up your Mac model and then compared it to your phone. It turns out you'd actually would have been better off using your phone for general purpose computing as opposed to that laptop. So, and Tim, I know you love to rag on Windows and you're using the my Mac's 4 billion years old excuse. But all I'm going to say is, okay, 2 different computers. The one common component in all of this is you. I'm just going to leave that there. It's going to leave that right there.
About you. It's
leave that there. Anyway,
about you, Timmy.
Yeah, I wasn't here last week because America. First of all, thanks, Bleezy, for being a legend. You done talked about the game I was going to talk about, which is Sifu, which is, as far as I could work out, an acronym for I f***ed up, which basically is the whole game when I'm playing it. But thank you for holding the fort down. But I genuinely have not had much opportunity to play anything new. I've been trying. What little gaming time I have, I'm actually having to use to relax, shock horror. So I'm still plinking away through God of War. Absolutely. Oh my God, I forgot how great that game is. And you're going to be excited. Tim, this is your 1 week warning. There is a Destiny 2 expansion next week.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were playing Rise.
No.
Destiny 2, Son of Rome.
Yeah, exactly. There was the last mission of this season acting as an intro to the next season. And in true Bungie style, it's not a single-player mission. Fine, we can deal with that. You get match made with randoms. All right, fine. Which slightly takes some of the dramatic tension out of it when one of your teammates insists on spending 5 minutes teabagging a character who's giving you some heartfelt narrative. But
that's
they managed to code
it in menus.
Yeah, exactly. But they managed to code it in such a way that, I get it. Not everybody wants to watch a cutscene. Fine.
I do.
But, yeah, me too. I love a cutscene.
I love cutscenes.
But they put it, and bearing in mind you are playing with randoms here.
Yep.
Okay? That if one person skips the cutscene, it skips it for everybody.
Oh, come on. You at least need to have a majority votes thing or something, no?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, really, Bungie? Really?
It's the I like the system where if you're playing an online thing, then and there's a cutscene, you all have to select to skip. So it'll go one person, 2 person, 3 person. So even if you do want to watch the cutscene, you can see, 3 people actually do want to skip this. Maybe I should just skip it. But otherwise, you could all enjoy.
Yeah. But anyway, I was astounded that it hadn't occurred to anybody at Bungie that might possibly not be optimal. But anyway, new season of Destiny next week. Woo!
Woo!
Chances of me being allowed to talk about it next to 0.
You can talk. Look,
you can talk about it.
No, I have no worries about you letting me talk about it, Coleman.
I don't not let you talk about it.
Captain One Button over there.
We just give you for it. That's all.
You're going to be able to talk about the
Horse.
Witch. What's it called? The
Witch Queen.
Queen. And I'm going to
Queen?
talk about Horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tim, you can talk about menus as much as you chuffing like this week.
Tim can play with his crayons in the corner. It's fine.
I might just
What's
try
your
out a bit
favourite
more
flavour of crayon,
Cyberpunk
Tim?
for next week. Strawberry.
Ooh.
Nice. That is my favourite as well. Nice.
Also known as purple.
Yeah.
The purple ones taste of strawberry. Everyone knows that.
No, they don't.
Ask the Titans. They know.
I am a Titan.
Well, then you
Next
know how
question.
rocks taste as well. It's fine.
Like happiness.
Yeah.
It's what they taste of happy.
So you're excited for Destiny?
I'm excited for Destiny, but I'm
Good.
gonna shut the heck up. I'm not going to use my Destiny credits anymore because I'm saving them all for next week. So I hear, Tim,
Yes.
that you've been playing a game.
I have.
I can show my age. I can remember when the original one of these came out. So
Right. So yeah.
what have you been playing?
I have
and
been
why?
playing King of Fighters 15. It's coming out today.
Today, as we record.
Yeah, today as we record, and tomorrow as you're listening to it, most probably. But yeah, just for the record, I only just got a review code in the last couple of days as well, so I've only had like one evening with it properly. So I might revisit it a little bit next week when I've had a bit of time to check out the online and
Did you
some
buy
other bits and
flowers?
bobs. Yes, but yeah,
You did? Wow.
But yeah, just in case anyone isn't aware, King of Fighters is a long-running one-on-one fighting game. Well, I say one-on-one, actually 3-on-3.
Wait, it's a fighting game.
But it is a fighting game in the same ilk as Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Some people, being slightly unkind, might say it's always been a bit of a poor man's Street Fighter.
I always thought it was the rich kid Street Fighter because it was
Well,
always
you
on
can think
Neo
that.
Geo.
Because
and
it was on
stuff.
Neo Geo,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it was the arcade game that was never quite hit the heights of the success of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, but kind of rode its coattails a little bit in being another successful game that other people gravitated towards after those games a little bit as well. The first original game, and it's a bit of but the actual first King of Fighters was called King of Fighters 94. It was based on the arcades, and it's always been an amalgamation of characters from other fighting games. Originally, and most prominently, especially for me, characters from Fatal Fury, which was the one that I kind of gravitated over. Also kind of takes its name from that because the original Fatal Fury was called Fatal Fury King of Fighters, so it kind of takes the name from that a little bit as well. And some other series like Art of Fighting and a few other ones. If I am correct at saying, I don't know that any of the games outside of Fatal Fury have released outside of the arcades
Fatal
in
Fury?
the UK.
Fatal Fury? Hello?
Fatal Fury. Fatal
Hello?
Fury. I don't think any of them outside of Fatal Fury
Hello,
have
Fatal Fury.
released
King
in the
of Fighters
UK
Dirt Lash Edition.
or at least never kind of became very prominent games or had big releases in the UK or the US as far as I'm aware. Possibly more
Hello,
in the US.
I'm Terry Bogard. How are you, mate?
I'm only aware of King of Fighters and those kind of games because of friends having Neo Geo, the rich kids having Neo Geos.
Wow.
I live because I grew
You
up
had
in
friends
Leon
that had
Solent
Neo
has-
Geos?
The rich kids. But so when I grew up in Leon Solent, there is an arcade there, so it's quite close to where I used to live. And I frequently go into the arcade. I used to love the arcade. And they never had a King of Fighters or any of those types of games. It was always Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter.
They were always the more popular ones. But I can't remember if it was a Fatal Fury or a King of Fighters that they had at my local swimming pool. And when I was little, I swam for my county and did quite a lot of swimming. So I spent quite a lot of time at my local swimming pool. So I spent quite a lot of time on that arcade machine, basically.
Wow, humble bragging, Tim.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like 30 to 40 years ago, I swam a lot. It's not exactly the biggest brag in the world, but yeah. Anyway, right. So
I don't know how to talk about it, but one used to submerge oneself at the county.
Getting back,
one was never very good at floating. But
getting back into the game, it's always I think not the original release, King of Fighters 94, but I think from the second one or so onwards, it's always been a 3-on-3 fighting game. They did introduce some like tag element type things, but it's never been a straight like tag game as far as I'm aware, and it isn't on this occasion with the 15th version. It's never been a tag version like Tekken Tag Tournament is, or even on a lesser extent like Marvel vs. Capcom, where you get people jumping in and assisting, or you can have people coming in and actual tagging in and out. So there's never been that element to it.
Going, tag, you're it, running away.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. If anyone doesn't remember, this is the 15th one, but they used to do King of Fighters every year. There used to be a different release every year.
Yeah.
And I think there's been 6 years between this and 14, and about 5 years or so between 14 and 13. So they've been getting more drawn out.
I think there's been about 5 re-releases of 14 to make up for that.
Yeah.
They've started doing the old Capcom thing and going, right, this is the game with more added on, this is the game with all the DLC, this is the game for a new generation.
And I kind of think that does make sense with fighting games these days, basically, with you know, having big rosters and trying to balance them and all that type of stuff as well.
Well, they've always been low-hanging fruit for software for games as a service, in my humble opinion. I'm surprised. Well, obviously Street Fighter 5 infamously, I can't speak words today, tried that and it went a bit wrong. But I'm sure, you know, I'm surprised that there has been more traction with that.
Yeah.
Well, there was later in the game, but when it first released, people were very annoyed because it was like, oh, this game is very bare bones released, and it's because they had to get it out in time for the Evo and their own fighting services and stuff that they put out, and then they built on it later.
Yeah. And despite being a massive fan of the series, I never picked up Street Fighter 5. I think I got it eventually at the base version as a PlayStation Plus or something, but I never actually bought the game myself. I played Coleman's one, which did kind of...
You played my version and all my DLC and stuff.
Yeah. So that kind of eased the pain on
That's
doing that.
That's how I paid rent. I just bought Tim's games.
Just get me on my Street Fighter and all the DLC.
So, what you got? Street Fighter, God of War, brilliant. You can stay.
but yeah, I think
utility bills now. Don't worry about it, mate. It's fine.
Yeah. Speaking of like rosters and DLC, there is straight out of the gate here like 39 characters in the roster, and I believe that is in King of Fighters 15. And there are a number of characters that are already available on DLC. The only thing I'd say about that, there's some characters that I know and are much more familiar with than at least half of the roster that are there, like Geese Howard, that are DLC characters, and I kind of think that's a bit cheeky, but okay.
I don't think any fighting game should come out of the gate and go, here's the DLC characters like we've planned. It should be out for a while as a full game before they go, now you can have this one and this one and this one.
I would argue most games should probably...
Oh, yeah.
Fine. But Street Fighter 5 got kind of a lot of criticism for having a lot of the DLC characters on the disc at launch. But that has been explained to me in a way that I'm like, that may be BS, but it sounds plausible, possibly, that for balancing sakes, it makes a lot more sense for them to have that on there, even if it's things that they adjust further down the line. it just makes it a lot easier to have all that in the same package to go with the first place. I don't exactly know the technical limitations on that and how true that is, but that's how it was explained to me anyway. So I imagine that's the case for this.
Well, what they got to do, they got to reserve the space on the disc because they can't move in otherwise. It's a bit like buying a plot.
Yeah.
That's what they've got to do. That's what they're putting down their down payment. They got, I fancy living on that bit of the Blu-ray. Here's my down payment. And if they don't have that, mate, if they don't have that, they've got to rely on the internet to get them where they want to be.
They can explain it any way they want, and it can sound as plausible as you think it can, but I'm still not going to like it.
Yeah, fine. Fair enough. That
and the same
with
when you have DLC that is planned at the same time as the game coming out, when it just feels like they've gone, here's your game and we've lopped a bit off so you can buy it. THQ are notorious for doing that, and we had that period where they went, oh, you got to buy the what was it, the multiplayer, the online pass. You got to buy the online pass so you can have the multiplayer portion of the game. And then companies started doing, you got to buy the online pass even though this game doesn't play online, to unlock additional content for something like Kings of Amalur. That it smacks of that. There's a full game that should have been sold and it wasn't, because we can chop a bit off and sell you extra.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of that is genuine technical issues and things that makes that easier. I don't actually mind a game coming out and having a roadmap that is planned out, and I think that's something
I'm talking about stuff that comes out same day as the game. I think
that's a bit cheeky. I think that's always going to leave a slightly bad taste in gamers' mouths, basically. So. Yeah, I can understand the criticism there. But anyway, right, so getting back to the game, it's structured in such a way that I find really strange, especially for a game that has arcade roots, basically. I find it really odd that it doesn't have an arcade mode.
Right.
Like, as I said, there's a story mode which is basically tantamount to an arcade mode. There's really not much to it. There is cutscenes in between fights, but they don't really change even when you change characters. The ending cutscene things that come about do change if you pick a different team, but you have to pick one of the pre-subscribed teams to get that particular ending, basically. So you have to pick Team Fatal Fury, for instance, and pick 3 characters, and it does actually help you out on the initial screen, the initial kind of menu screen thing, because it's got all the characters next to each other in their teams of 3 as well. So you know who to pick to be in that team. But you can pick a random team of just 3 characters.
I was going to say, for the uninitiated, because the whole break, there's not just characters, it's the teams as well.
Yeah.
Which people, that might be a concept people aren't so familiar with. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, basically, it's just, I don't think there's any, given synergies between characters or anything. There might be a balance thing where you tend to get different characters, different things. But, for instance, there's a team that is just a team of wrestlers that you'd quite like, Mr. Coleman. There's one big, beefy wrestler who definitely is legally different Zangief, but he's just a big Russian wrestler, basically. But in the story of the game, he's actually got his own wrestling federation called Galaxy Antonov Wrestling, and he's Antonov, or whatever his name is, basically. So he's that guy. And then there is a Lucha Libre guy who I think you'd really like, Coleman. He's really good. He's not tiny, and he doesn't have the standard Lucha Libre mask. He's got an eye patch for some reason, but he's just quite cool. It's not Raul, it's something beginning with R. But anyway, and then the third member of that team is just a guy called King of Dinosaurs. And he's a wrestler, but he's got lots of bitey moves, and he's just a big dinosaur, big red dinosaur. Very on brand. I think you'll like him a lot, Coleman.
Right. So it's not a dude dressed up as a dinosaur.
No, it's an actual dinosaur. He is the actual king of the dinosaurs. Yeah.
It's Luchasaurus, I think, is the guy in AEW.
Nice.
A very big guy who's meant to be... He's a dinosaur. Isn't there a female character that I keep seeing screenshots of who... I thought she was one of the wrestlers doing some weird split-legged suplex on some guy's head.
There is a character who's kind of a wrestling type, but she's not a member of the team I was just talking about there. So, and
Okay.
there's even odd things where there's
They
a
look
team
like
of
filth.
there's a team of 3 army guys, and their captain, who talks to them in cutscenes, isn't in that team. So there's some oddities that don't entirely make sense, kind of stuff. But I think that's just
he's
because
a DLC fighter coming later.
well, no. He's a fighter that you can play, but he's just not in that team of 3. Basically, he's just in a different team. But I think it's just because there's limitations. They've taken multiple characters from some games, but they've only got 3 characters per team, so they've had to limit it to that in some way, basically. But yeah, all it means is that you get to pick those 3 characters. You pick the 3 characters and they are in that order, but then when you're starting a fight, you can actually change the order of the characters, which I kind of quite like, but when you're going up against the computer character, it randomizes the order of those 3 characters you're playing against, so there's no real tactical advantage other than I will start with this person because they'll probably start with that person, but it's not like you can pit someone against each other and that side of things. Oh, there's one thing I didn't mention up front, but there's something I can't talk about according to the review embargo, and I have absolutely no idea why, but I cannot talk about the final boss. I think that was possibly pre-launch of the game, and I think I can probably talk about it, but just to be on the safe side, that's something I'll leave till next week. But let's just say I have much more questions than statements.
Is that like is that like when we got BlazBlue Cross Battle and they said, and even though I bought it, I think we got sent a copy as well for review, and then I was then told just before we were recording there was a thing that me and you referred to as bouncy stairs, where because you had a little open map type selection screen where it was a living menu. You have a little character that runs around to the places.
Yeah.
And whenever they went up and down stairs, the whole screen would shake with them going up and down stairs, which I checked the other day, still happens.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But we were embargoed not to ever talk about that. So we're probably in trouble now. But I bought the game, so stuff you.
Also, while we're talking about bouncy things,
Right, where's this? Are we talking about booth physics? Are we going for booth physics?
We are going to talk about booth physics because I don't think you can get away with talking about that game. It's not something I want to touch, but it's definitely something that is not quite as gratuitous as it is in Dead or Alive, but it is slightly gratuitous in this game. There is also, I think, maybe 1 or 2 of the entire female cast in the game that could be described as fully dressed, basically. The rest
Can
of
I
them,
just remind
not
that
so much.
it's actually called jiggle physics.
Jiggle physics.
Yes.
Because that makes it sound so much better, Coleman.
I mean,
But yes, it's one of those things that doesn't look entirely mature. The one thing I'll say, though, in true fighting game and slightly comic character model fashion, a lot of the men are just as ridiculously chiseled, massively muscled, huge pecs type thing, but they don't wobble as much. Obviously,
It's your muscle having a day off, mate.
But yeah, it's just something where I just wish
Coleman.
it was a little bit more grown up when it came to that side of things. You know what I mean? I could do without it.
I think that's one of the things that slightly depresses me about a lot of fighting games that come out of Japan still, is that slightly juvenile. I was like, really? Are we still doing this? Really?
But
I mean, it's a different culture.
Yeah. But just...
but there's no way that it's not dreamt out of a pervy need to see something jiggle. And this just depresses me that we live in a world where that is still a positive point in a game. For the love of God.
Right, but setting that aside, apart from that being a criticism, and setting criticisms aside for 1 second, let's concentrate on a few of the things that this game gets right. Because it is a very fun, easy to play, arcadey fighting game, basically. The 3-on-3 thing. Mode. Yes, without an arcade mode, but the story mode is tantamount to an arcade mode. But the one thing I find really odd, in Versus, you can play 3-on-3 or 1-on-1 in terms of the amount of characters you're picking, but there's no facility to play 1-on-1 anywhere outside of the training modes in the game. And it does have a few training modes, None of them are great. So that was another criticism I forgot, but I'll just squeeze that in there before we go. But generally, the actual fighting and the presentation and everything else is really good. Like, it looks nice. The backgrounds are interesting. There's lots going on, and they kind of add to the kind of atmosphere. Again, the cutscenes and the stories and the ending stuff are all a little bit fugazi, but generally kind of interesting and kind of fun. And there's some, like, I don't know about you, I do find it weird when there's a character who looks very un-Japanese who speaks in perfect Japanese, and that's a bit disconcerting.
A dinosaur?
Yes. But also that's one other thing I forgot to mention. I don't think it needs it, but there's no translation. It's all Japanese with subtitles. I'm not that bothered by that. If that bothers you, then fine. But for a fighting game, I don't really care. Yeah, I find it more interesting in a way anyway.
I'm not bothered, but I'm a massive fan of the way that like Tekken do it, where they go, okay, so all these characters that are from all around the world, each one speaks in their own native tongue, and I really like that approach.
Yeah. I like, kind of
no matter what
that.
country
That
it is, some people speak Japanese, some people are English, some people are Brazilian. You know, it's cool, that stuff.
Yeah. And I think that feels more inclusive and nice in a way anyway. But as I said, I don't really need that, and it's a Japanese game, so I don't mind it all being in Japanese. That's not really a problem for me. But in terms of the actual fighting, it's really quite accessible. It's this weird thing where it's got a lot of technical things that I find difficult to do. Like, I'm happy with the double fight, and it's all a lot of like fireball motions, and by that I mean
left click, right click,
forward and backward half circles,
technically difficult,
quarter circles, and like double forward circles to do your special moves and stuff like that. But then there's also do a backwards dragon punch and then a forward half circle, and then you can do your super move. And I haven't managed one of those yet. But they've made everything a bit more. They've made everything a bit more accessible. There's a bar that builds up that gives you different access to different levels of super moves, and you have to do the corresponding kind of button pushes.
1 pint, 2 pints, 5 pints.
They've also got a system, and I can't remember what they call it, like a rush system or something, but it's something where you can easily access all the special moves in the game just by not holding any, like, you have to be neutral on the stick, which kind of leaves you open to attack, but just by pressing the punch button 4 times in a row, it will engage your highest available special move, which is really good and really makes those higher level special moves much more accessible to even like beginner players rather. And you can vary that as well. So if you do 3 light punches and then another button, it will do a variant of that. So you can do like your level 1 special move with 3 light punches and a heavy punch. But if you just press 4 light punches, it will do your highest available move and use up all of your special bar that it can, basically. And that system works quite well. Again, it's not like it will just be an easy like win, because you do have to time that well, and it does leave you exposed to come off the stick and not be blocking or guarding or jumping away or anything like that. As I said, there are some technical elements to it, like there's 3 different levels of jumping upwards and stuff like that, or jumping forwards, and there's a hop and a super hop and all this type of stuff. But when you actually dig into the game and start playing it, it's actually quite accessible, and the stuff that they've done to do that works well and is implemented well. Also, when playing through the story mode, if you get beaten at any point, which doesn't happen that often as long as I'm playing with characters I'm familiar with, but if you do get beaten, you can actually like on the very next thing, and it doesn't seem to punish you. I'm guessing it punishes you score-wise, but it doesn't really punish you other than that. You can choose what level of assistance you want. So you can just go for, I'd like an extra level of my super bar, please. Or I'd like the opponent on 75% health. All the way down to, I want my opponents on 50% health, and I want my super bar maxed as well. So, like, you can really tailor it and actually make it so that it's even easier to get through a fight, so that you don't get stuck and start banging your head against the brick wall or get stuck. The only thing is, I found that Terry Bogard, who we mentioned, was one of the main characters from Fatal Fury.
He
wears the baseball cap.
Iconic hat.
Iconic cat. And he's one of the kind of main standout characters, so it's not too surprising this is possibly the case, but he feels massively OP, or overpowered. But he, like, when I'm playing as him, I don't think
we know what OP means.
Yeah, just in case, I can make it more inclusive. But he feels massively overpowered just because like I can power through a whole opposition team with just him. But also when I come up against him, I find him really difficult, especially when it's characters that I'm slightly less familiar with or just getting to grips with and stuff like that. But yeah, as I said, I'll revisit a bit more next week. I'll come back when I've had a chance to talk about the online mode, because apparently the netcode for that is really good, works really well. There's like rollback netcode, which has been praised really quite highly for how good it is. So I'm actually hoping to try a bit of online so that I can actually try that out and come back and talk about that a bit more next week. I will also talk about the boss next week. I would say it's a hard thing to possibly recommend if you're not already a fan of fighting games, kind of thing. I'd possibly wait until there's a Game of Year edition that does include the DLC, possibly, maybe, might be my recommendation. But if it's a game that you've never checked out, especially, and you're a big fan of fighting games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, this should definitely be one of the next games on your list to have a look at and check out. So if you're a big fan of those games and have never played a King of Fighters, which I think might be the place for quite a few people, then this is definitely one to put on your list and check out at some point in time. As I said, it's available from today. I'm assuming it's a full price game. I haven't actually double checked that is the case.
I think it's 60 unless you want the deluxe version, then it's 70.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I mean, that's not horrible considering that there are games that are £70 on the PS5 at the moment. I should also point it out, I'm playing it on the PS5. But yeah, it's one of those games I haven't played for a few years now. Not just because it's been a few years since the last one, but I don't think I played 13 or 14, and possibly not even 12. But it's a series I'm glad I have revisited.
98, I think, was the last one I played.
It was quite possible as well. But yeah, in fact, I'm not sure I've played any of the numbered sequels. They did use years for quite a few years, and then they switched to numbers with 12, I think. But yeah, like...
Oh no, mine was numbered. I'm just from the future.
Oh, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that I spent a bit more time with it, and I'll be glad to spend a bit more time with it this week and get a bit deeper into the online stuff as well. So yeah. With a few
I will remind you, Tim,
recommend.
that there are other games to talk about than King of Fighters again next week. Just going to put that out there for you to put in the old Tim brain and go,
I do have 3 follow-up questions.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
I just wanted to know, is this a 2D fighter or a 3D fighter?
Right, sorry, yeah, I didn't mention that. It's got a kind of 3D element to the drawings, but it's on a 2D plane. Like, yeah, there's no so like 2D, going into the background or
2.5D.
Yeah.
2.5D.
2.5D.
2.5D, lovely.
But
next question, Coleman.
There's no retreating into the background or throwing people into the background or anything like there is with DC and stuff like that, basically. Mortal Kombat DC and stuff like that.
You speak of DLC for this game. Is there, I don't know if you'll know this one, but when BlazBlue Cross Battle came out, again, going back to that one, they put out 2 versions of the game. One was like the regular version you bought. The second was the version that included everything. And I realised this because, like, again, I loaded this up a month ago and realised that I had all this DLC that I've never downloaded that was all included because I bought that initial version of the game. Is that the case with this, or is that a season pass type thing, or what?
I believe so. I don't know the season, but I think you mentioned that there's the other version of the game at a higher price, and I think that probably includes all the DLC that is available at the moment. I don't know if that is 100% of the DLC. I only got access to the standard edition, so that's all I've been talking about, basically.
Okay. Question the third, because I know Elden Ring is around the corner. Mm-hmm. Question the third. I know Elden Ring is around the corner.
It is, isn't it?
Very, very close around the corner. Should I be spending money on this before Elden Ring, or should I be waiting for Elden Ring instead?
Well, I would say
that's not a general catch-all question for everyone. Knowing
yes, that is you. I would say, Mr. Coleman, knowing you and knowing that we are well overdue for a fighty, drinky night, I think we need to get the boys together. You need to come round and try it for yourself. so that you can see if you like it. But as I said, I definitely think it's a strong contender for the fighting game. May not be quite the king of fighters that it purports itself to be, but I definitely think it's in the kind of the high echelons of the underclasses of the fighting game type thing. As I said, pretty much next on the list after Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I think it's very much BlazBlue, I think, was quite a high-quality fighting game, and I think this sits quite nicely shoulder to shoulder alongside it, basically.
I thought Cross Battle was rubbish, and I tried getting back into it.
Okay, you didn't like it.
This is a very simplistic fighter to what I remembered, but hey-oh.
Well,
right,
okay, no, I put it up there with
Please!
Dead or Alive and other stuff, but yeah.
Oh, God. Make it stop.
Do you want to hear some news? I think Dan is begging for some news right
Please.
now. What's this?
I can't remember a time where I wasn't talking about Terry Bogard and his hat. Help me.
Right. Well, the first one, and it's kind of linking into the game that I've been playing, but Cyberpunk 2077 has finally come to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X/S, which I don't know why.
I have a question.
Go on.
Is it fixed yet?
Kinda.
So, great. Okay, that's progress.
Yeah.
So along with the PS5 and Xbox Series releases of the game, there's a huge 1.5 patch, which I think is over 50 gigabytes, depending on what platform you're using.
Yeah.
Which also contains a bunch of free DLC and a bunch of other stuff as well. But there was a big stream to show this 1.5 patch off and show it was showing a mission that cycled through the various versions of the game, which I think you can then look at that mission in its entirety on YouTube and just watch each version to whatever platform you want. It's available now. You can get your so if you've bought this on the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4, then obviously you can download those for no extra cost because they said that would be an actual thing for the upgrade. The difference is if you have an Xbox Series X or S, then you can download a patch and that will give you access to the new version. If you have a PS5, you have to download a brand new game for it. I did see someone say you had to do that stupid PlayStation thing where you go, hey, I need both my PS4 and PS5 versions on the same hard drive so I can transfer my save over, which I then pre-installed my PS4 version and went, okay, I'm ready to try this. No. You just need the save data. You don't need to have both versions on your hard drive.
Although I don't know, Coleman, did you have a physical version? Do you have the disc version or did you have a downloaded
No,
version?
I bought this day one.
Mm-hmm.
As we've spoken about before, I bought this day one. It deleted my saves and I got really angry and I asked for a refund and I got a refund and then I rebought this later on the PC for something like £6.99.
But I assume that was
with the
download,
release, they said, yes, it was download. They went digital version, $19.99, which is still the case now. Plus, there's a demo if you want to give it a try as well, free demo for 30 hours of the game or something silly like that.
I thought it was 5.
So I thought, do you know what? No, I don't know. But you can, I thought, do you know what? I'll give it a go. I prefer playing this on the PS5 than playing it on my laptop anyway. So jumped in, started playing that. I can see the improvements. And those improvements are that they allow you to play the game at 60 frames a second, or you can play at 30 if you want to use ray tracing and all the shiny shines. However, if you're playing on the Xbox Series S, no, you've got to play at 30 without ray tracing. And I think that's the first time we've seen a significant downgrade of an Xbox Series S game. Back to the cheap seats with you. Yeah. Go back there. I don't know if that's a case of optimization problems with this game or if this is a case of are we now going to see problems with the S going forward where we are going to see such huge differences where you won't be able to play games at 60 if you're on the S? If that's the case, I'm really regretting buying an S because
I don't think it's going to be
trying to find an X.
Well, it might be more problematic for you because you tend to suffer when it's not a stable frame rate. No, that seems to be more of a problem for you. But from what I've seen,
been spoiled, and now it really screws up my travel sickness. Yeah.
But from what I've seen, I'm surprised because I think the 60 in Cyberpunk 2077 has a few frame drops. No, like it does. It's not a absolutely rock solid 60 on consoles, at least. I've also heard that the ray tracing
hog on every platform.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a bit of a resource hog generally as a game. But I've also heard that the ray tracing is very limited on consoles, that it only does local shadowing, basically.
It's shadowing.
There's one light, one single light in the whole world, and it's one little 20-watt light bulb, and it doesn't light anything up.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's poor optimization for the consoles because, as you say, Dan, the PC version is a hog, and trying to get that thing running on a nice beefy PC, there are big problems with that game. But there are still problems with that game, but not to the severity that I had before. It's not crashing every other time I'm playing it. You don't get into a car and you're driving along happy, and then at some random point your car just explodes and goes launching into the air. There's none of that stuff. That all seems to have been fixed. And I understand that's been fixed on the way to this patch, but there's a lot of issues that have been cleared up. The main thing being the frames on the console. Now, there are other things, like there's a whole new AI implemented for the AI characters, and apparently the reason they've only implemented that now is because it was something that couldn't be implemented because they need the power of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X rather than the PS4 and the Xbox One. I call that a crock because you had a PC version out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they've actually limited from, like, not available in the PS4 and Xbox One versions as well, no? Like, not all of the upgrades you mentioned are available on those consoles as well, I believe, no? No,
you won't be able to play it at 60 on your PS4 Pro or anything
and
like
no ray tracing.
And no ray tracing at all, obviously, but that's something that's been added to the later console editions anyway. And it's just because they're not available on the old consoles. So it's going to be limited in that way. But playing the game as is on a console, on the PS5, first of all, I was very glad to see, as soon as I loaded it up, all my saves returned.
Hey!
So I picked that up from where I was. However, where I was in a garage next to a motorbike, and that motorbike was jumping up and down.
I'm not going to lie, that sounded like that. Well, I woke up after the stag night and I was in a garage with a tub of margarine
and a
half-assembled Harley Davidson.
No, just watching
Only
Jackie's
wearing my
motorbike
pants
vibrate, and it was very odd. But then after that, I went into a bar, and one of the patrons there was in a stack of
stag night
boxes on the floor. Like he looked like he was wearing boxes for shoes, like a madman. But other than that, played fine. I had to go into the options and make sure that I turned off depth of field and film grain and what's the other one? The motion blur.
Motion blur.
Yeah. All the normal stuff, turn all that off, and unfortunately it did sacrifice the frame rate a little bit, but not so much to be, this feels like I'm playing an old game. It was an every now and then, if I turned too sharp in a heavily populated area, then it would slow down a little bit on the turn. And that was the stuff.
But at least everyone
noticeable.
Didn't disappear when you turned round, though, Like, that's an improvement from where it was before.
I haven't looked at the AI stuff properly to see how that's performing in comparison to what it was before. The only real big issue I found was they've changed the skill tree completely.
Yes.
And that means they've refunded all your skills that you've spent, which I didn't realise because I didn't watch the live stream to go, wonder what the changes are. I just read it in an article later.
So not only did you come to from that stag night, you woke up an idiot, basically.
Yeah, basically, because I turned a corner and see a bunch of gang members and I went, let's see how the whole fighting progressed.
Do you want some?
Well, yeah, I just pulled out a samurai sword. One guy turns around, flies at me, and I'm dead. And I went, what the hell just happened? And I've got all these skill points that I haven't used. So
they did explain on the live stream that they changed things so dramatically that they thought that was the fairest thing to do because otherwise it would have changed, how all your characters operated and worked, basically. So
yeah, the improvements are welcomed. It actually plays like a game I would have been more happy to have spent the full price on last year. It does go to show that when they were advised they should be holding off for another year for release. Maybe they should have been holding off 2 years for release or a year and a half or something, because if they released it at this point in this state, there would have been a lot less criticism towards the game and a lot less refunds, and you could have probably charged full price.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to picking it back up probably around summertime when all of the kinks really have been ironed out, because it's an interesting universe to play around in Cyberpunk 2077. It's just that there were so many issues with the game that I just found it difficult to get past those.
I was just going to say, my save loaded up and then I remembered how much I hated the level I'd got stuck in, and that was part of the reason that I'd finished playing. And I'm really thinking about just starting the whole game again from the beginning, basically.
I would.
I forgot, because I immediately started picking up on, there's a whole thing of these like robot taxis that are limos, and they're like a hive mind, but a few of, like 7 of them have become corrupt and have gone off on their own way. And your whole thing is to go through these series of missions to go find these taxis and get them to return back to their home base. And some of them are mad things like you got to crash them off the road or into a canal or something to bring them back. Some of the one's scared of flamingo ornaments, so you got to go out and find flamingos and smash them up. But the last one is the one that I'm struggling with, and it's GLaDOS. It's voiced by the same character as GLaDOS.
Oh, no.
Has the GLaDOS voice, has the same mannerisms, and talking about surprises and stuff. And it's literally, you track them down, you go to get in that car, and then they just go, you've fallen into my trap, and all these bad guys just start descending upon you. And that's the one that I'm like, I'm so close to beating this one. I'm going to put this aside once I've leveled up a bit more. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm enjoying Cyberpunk. Unfortunately, it's probably going to go by the wayside because it's so close to Horizon coming out.
Yeah, badly timed with open world games coming out and hitting the between that and Elden Ring coming out this month. Like, that's not a good time to be coming out, but still.
Yeah, anyway, there's a lot of stuff landing very soon.
Yeah, February's very busy.
I'm glad initial reports of Dying Light 2 said, hey, maybe wait for this to get patched and go down in price, because I'd be spending a lot of people that are putting through with the bugs and stuff, they're really getting into that game. And I think after Far Cry, I'd probably be stuck in that game and not playing the new games coming in. So I'll quite happily wait for that to go on sale.
Yeah, and Horizon Forbidden West looks great. It looks phenomenal, but I'm not paying £70 for that game in the same month that I can get an Elden Ring for 50 quid. You know what I mean? Like, I just, no.
I bought discounted PlayStation credit, and then I bought the £50 version because you're getting a free upgrade.
Yes. They've been a bit sneaky about that, by the way. They're still listing the full price PS5 game on the store. But
so if you go on the web, they won't let you download the PS4 version on the PlayStation 5. So it will still say £60 or whatever it is for that version. If you go onto the website, the initial problem said it was that they listed the PS4 version, even though they said that the PS4 version would get a PS5 upgrade, and they'd still listed it as PS4 only. Yeah. The minute they changed that to PS4/PS5, I went on the website and bought it that way.
Yeah. They did say from now on, though, it's going to be a £10 upgrade for games. Generally, this is the last one that's sneaking under just because it got delayed, but they kind of promised it. So they kind of went back on what they said about it being a paid upgrade. But from now on, any first-party titles will be a paid upgrade to get the PS5 version, basically. So
this is the way.
This is the way.
I mean, if you're going to charge us full and charge us for upgrades, then just don't do a PS4 version.
Yeah.
Hey-ho. Right. Nintendo, very quickly, we'll run through the rest of these because these are very quick ones to get through. Nintendo, they are axing the 3DS and the Wii U from the eShop, which has led many people to go, hey, can we just bully them into keeping them like we did with PlayStation with the PSP and the PS3 stuff?
Didn't they try this before? Nintendo didn't they threaten to shut them before, I thought?
No, this was PlayStation initially. They have taken away 2DS, well, not 2DS, but DS and, I forget 2DS is a 3DS. They've taken away DS support. They've taken away Wii support. They've shut down the Wii Shop channel from the old Wii stuff. All this stuff's been shut down. They won't listen to you. And to show how serious they are about this, they've completely revamped the eShop, ready to remove everything. So there you go. The timeline as the shutdown process happens, which will happen next year, it goes as follows. So May 23rd, 2022, they are no longer going to accept you adding funds using a credit card to the 3DS or Wii U eShop account. August 29th, 2022, they will no longer make it possible to use an eShop card to add funds. However, it will still be possible to redeem download codes. Late March 2023, you can no longer make purchases, download demos or themes, or redeem a download code or add funds on the eShop for Wii U or 3DS games. However,
is it a bit of a misnomer to still call it a shop at that point?
Yeah, it's a downloading database, and I will give them this because they will still allow. I'm not celebrating that they go, "Hey, we'll still let you download the games you purchased," because of course they should let you download the games you purchased. More so, it's the Wii U and the 3DS have a much better search system for finding your games than the PS Vita did. Which that was my big problem when they said we're not going to support the PS Vita anymore, but you can still download your games. Have you seen how hard it is to find the games that you own already? It's ridiculous.
Oh, PS Vita, a console that should have been so good, should have done so well, but just didn't anyway. That's a rant for another time.
And the 3DS, a console that was.
Capcom's up to something. They've had a countdown on their website for a couple of weeks called so it's capcoms-games.com/countdown. This was put up last week. We didn't notice though because there wasn't a lot of announcement around this. There wasn't a lot of this being passed around. The only reason I think it's gained traction is because someone tried to do a big old troll and go, we've hacked the code. Oh, someone said, we've hacked the code and the RAM, which makes no sense, of the website.
Oh, the code and the RAM.
Yeah, and we've seen that Xbox have bought Capcom, and they made this really bad written in the code announcement that was meant to supposedly pop up this weekend when the announcement goes live, which said Phil Spencer misspelt Spencer. So that was clever.
Well
I think
done.
It's much more likely
I
bought by PlayStation, but hey.
Yeah, I had a quick look through the code just in case there were any fun things. All I could find is they misspelled analytics, and it's analytics.
Ooh, I like that.
I know. So there we go. What I would love if this is anal ticks. Yes, that's exactly it, Tim. That if this was actually a crossover with Channel 4's Countdown, that's what I would like to see, and that's why they're doing a countdown. Susie Dent's just going to go ham on them.
Right, anyway, it looks very likely that this could be a Street Fighter announcement. People are hoping this is going to be Street Fighter 6. So the countdown's meant to finish Sunday, I think it is. And that coincides with the Street Fighter Pro Tour final, which would be a good idea to announce that during the just before the final fight, maybe.
Makes sense.
And then also it marks the 35th anniversary of Street Fighter, which makes a good idea for that as well. But also there's a Capcom official band called Cap Jams, who they've made a lot of the music. They've done collaborations for Street Fighter projects recently, and they've made point to tweet out about the countdown as well and put eyes on that. So it could very well be that they've been doing some stuff for the game itself.
That would make sense. I mean, that timing makes sense. A lot of people are speculating that the font hints at a Resident Evil announcement, but that doesn't seem to really tally with the kind of the lining up of times and everything else. So I think it would make more sense for a Street Fighter, but we'll see.
All right. I need to stop you here because there is something incredible.
Are you looking in the code?
I believe, and this is my theory, I've been looking at the internet. So what? As we're recording, it's 3 days and 10 hours to go. In 3 days and 10 hours' time, there is actually scheduled to be a rerun of Countdown shown on Channel 4. Thank you very much. I've cracked the code. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Suck it. Well there you go. Officially, that's what it is. It's crossover. Street Fighter X Countdown.
Do you know what? I'd love it to be something random if everyone, like all these Street Fighter fans are ready. They're all painted green. They've got their bandanas on, like all their Street Fighter cosplay ready to go. And
I'd like 4 little ones and 1 big one, please.
Yeah, it's Beautiful Joe or something like that. In other news, as Tim has disappeared from the podcast, but I'm sure he'll be back in a moment. That doesn't make sense. Timism. BioShock, there's a movie in the works at Netflix. There was a BioShock movie that was in the works previously. Gorb Verbinski working on, left the project. it got shelved. Netflix has picked that up. That sounds good to me. I really want to see what a BioShock movie set in the original BioShock game looks like.
Do you know what? I think this would be great as a series rather than just a movie. I think a format of a series would suit this far better and allow much more kind of unpicking of the characters and the backdrop, the really interesting backdrop that is Rapture. But hey, what do I know?
Would you kindly make this well, please?
I mean, it's an I like the whole Art Deco setting. The only thing that I think what you're saying is a good idea, Dan, if they made it into a series. I think the thing that's going to tell whether we're going to get more series. We have Last of Us in the works, which is one of the most expensive TV shows ever made. So let's see if that pays off. Let's also see Paramount Plus has a Halo series that's about to come out as well.
They've already renewed that for season 2, they've announced, and they haven't even aired it yet.
Yeah, but it's Halo. It's going to make an absolute arse ton of money.
I have to say,
if it
does
was
look
just
good. Looks like they've done it well.
No, seriously, even if it turns out to just be a claymation Master Chief and go.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how
still
it goes.
make billions of dollars.
In comparison to, like, say, what's the video game movie at the moment? We had Tomb Raider, we had Mortal Kombat, and those didn't go down well, even though I thought they were pretty serviceable films. Uncharted, I watched Uncharted the other day. I thought it was really good. A lot of people are saying that's a rubbish film. Or saying it's a bland film. But
a lot of people said National Treasure is rubbish, and I accept that is a rubbish film, but it's a rubbish film I really enjoy. More than the last Indiana
that's the
Jones
thing. If
film.
you're gonna be rubbish, you need to be really rubbish.
Yeah, lean into it.
Lean into it, exactly.
Anywho, come fight me on Discord about Uncharted. Also in the works, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 isn't even out yet, but can you believe it? They've already greenlit Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and also talking about Paramount Plus, a Knuckles TV show starring Idris Elba.
Nice, nice.
I miss Australian Knuckles with the hat, but
he might still do an Aussie accent. He's a very talented chap.
No,
Idris.
I've heard the voice. He's in the trailer. It's Idris Elba being Idris Elba, but he's an echidna with dreads.
Right,
so, fine.
Like a really weird furry version of The Wire. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly that.
Excellent. Good.
Furry Wire.
All right, that's all the news. Before we get out of here, we like to give a charity spotlight. We like to point a spotlight on the charities that are video game related. And there's a pretty timely one coming up because Games Done Quick, we know about the Games Done Quick. We don't think we've ever spoken about them on the show. Games.quick.com. These are primarily on Twitch, a bunch of speedrunners. They'll set parameters for a game that they have to speedrun live on stream. You make donations, and they'll do them for various different charities and various different events and stuff. The one coming out very timely in just under 10 days as this podcast comes out, Frost Fatales, which is is going to be raising money for the Malaya Fund. That is going to be taking place from the 27th of February till the 6th of March. There's going to be live streams every day. The Frame Fatales, if you don't know, they are the female division of the speedrunning community of Games Done Quick. And they will be raising money for the Malaya Fund, which is working for a world where all girls can learn and lead. The Malaya Fund advocates for resources and policy changes needed to give all girls a secondary education, invests in local education, activists, and amplifies voices of girls fighting for change. You can learn more about you can learn more about the cause itself at malaya.org.
No, please do, because it's a fantastic cause. It's a fantastic. I mean, the work they do is just incredible. That inequalities that we couldn't even begin to get our heads around that exist in some parts of the world, and the fantastic work they do to start breaking those barriers down is just brilliant. So do give it a watch, and do if you can give some support their way.
You do. The link to that will be available at gamesdonequick.com. That will be available in the show notes in the chapter section as well. Although I think this is going to be on our next week's show as well, just because of the timing. Yeah.
Indeed.
You want to wrap us up, Dan?
Right. So you've heard all the things that were. We're going to now go away and look at things that we're going to talk about next week. I'm going to go to bed going, yay, there's only 5 sleeps till Destiny. Because, well, to be fair, I say that every day as I go to bed. Yay, 1 sleep till Destiny again.
I'm surprised Dan hasn't done the Eric Cartman waiting for the Wii thing of just trying to freeze himself.
Cryogenically freeze himself.
So he can wake up just in time and then accidentally go into the future. And then having to go to the past.
Exactly.
I'll let you know that there's only one sleep till Horizon Forbidden West, and that's because I'm probably going to stay up past midnight on Friday.
Excellent. So, but between now and then, make sure you head on over to www.BigRedBarel.com, twitter.com/BigRedBarel, facebook.com/BigRedBarel, or even come say hello in our Discord, for which there is a super duper handy link in the show notes of this here email, as are all the other links too. Email? Coleman's a legend. So yeah, we talk nonsense there. I occasionally do hidden rickrolls on people just to amuse myself when they've sent me a rickroll. Spent a good hour of my day trying to find that. I was very impressed with myself.
Sometimes you refer to show notes as an email.
Do I?
You said link available to Discord in this here email.
I don't know. It's all bits and bobs, isn't it? You look on your intertubes. Click on a click on a hyperlink.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, nurse.
Right.
Dan,
I'm going to go now.
The red cord sticking out of the ceiling. Give that a tug, will you, mate?
It's time for my medication now, so I'm going to go. All right. So thank you ever so much for listening, and all that really remains is for me to remind you that I have been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
I have been Coleman, and Dan lives in one of those special apartments that has a key for the oven, so he doesn't use it unsupervised.
I just want to touch the hot cupboard. I don't understand the hot cupboard.
No, buddy.
Stuff goes in cold and it comes out hot. I don't understand it.
It's a real apartment of your own, mate. It's okay. It's real.
No,
don't worry.
I
mean, look, you can't use the oven unsupervised.
Why?
But look, you can
why
turn
is
the
there a
lights
hot
on,
cupboard and why is there a
the
cold cupboard in my kitchen? Why?
It's all fine, buddy. Don't worry.
But why is there some cupboards that have no discernible effect on temperature at all? I don't understand this confusing system.
Why aren't I allowed in the cold box?
Nurse. We're going to go now. Alrighty. Thank you ever so much for listening. And until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
Your ears are quite welcome
for the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
to BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.
You will not be able to progress, basically. But I swear I've been high 70s or mid 70s at least.
This is the first I'm hearing of it, and it terrifies me.
I think aging terrifies you.
Yeah.